Där kan jag kolla picturerna. Vamos fazer tal jogo. Fair enough. That's how the bullet. Forward. Okay, right. Come on here.
To the bottom, now go to the bottom and then just take off the top. That's perfect. Yeah, important for you. I massage some legs. I can do that,
Good morning and welcome. Day 2 Vienna Spring Break. ULTI.TV broadcast here. Semi-finals in the open division. I'm Stef Pazzo, joined with the one and only Benjamin Reese for this semi-final. Benji, who do we got in front of us before we kick off the first poll?
Two teams that we saw on the live stream yesterday. We have the Flying Angels from Bern in Switzerland and Hometown Heroes forward from right here in Vienna, Austria.
Promises to be a cracking affair. We saw both of them on this stream. In both cases, they got the wins. With forward, we saw them in the quarterfinal. Bern, we saw them in their pool play action, getting the win. This one promises to be a cracker. They will play a Czech team. That much we know. We'll fill you in on the details after the action of this first point gets going. Immersi kicks things off for FAB and gets it to Simon.
Forward beginning with a zone here, so just trying to make FAB think a little bit in this early morning, which often I find a bit of a challenge.
But you don't drink enough coffee, Benj. We've already discussed solutions, but I understand morning decision-making process made to be a bit more difficult, and let's see if this zone will offer those same difficulties. So far, Jordy goes deep. He's got Christian there, a man under. It may fade out of bounds. It does not. Caught and collected for the goal. FAB strike first. Put one on the board with a hold, Benj.
They moved the disc through that zone really nicely. I'm not sure about the choice of shot from Jordy, because when you're shooting right down the sideline like that, you get very little margin for error, because obviously you draw it too far out and then obviously you can't get it. There's also the risk of your receiver has to think about keeping themselves in bounds. The defender doesn't have to worry about that sort of thing. They can just go up and swat it away. Also thought there might have been a little bit too much float on it. Shows what I know, because Jordy actually does it really well. And again, just putting a little bit of faith in Dominic Christen there as well. And he answered the call.
So they get it done 1-0 early going for the Flying Angels of Bern. They take it down that narrow corridor, as Benji said, and we're about to get a first look at the O-line from forward, the Viennese squad, hometown squad, that have been pulled apart by a couple different factors, a couple other local clubs, some defections to clubs around the continent, and of course the under-24 that's had them stretched thin, but they're playing some of the best ultimate we've seen them play in a continental tournament quite some time. And here they come. Dovitz to kick things off, as he tends to do. He gets it back, sporting the pink sleeves under their reversibles here. Kane. Pack. And now a chance in the red zone. Dovitz shakes and bakes, and the face mark almost gets away with a D, but doesn't. Dovitz claps it in. Kane shoots sideline, well-weighted shot. No hesitation was what they needed and what they got.
I think you were right there in that you kind of pinpointed one of the key moments when they transitioned into their red zone offense. They would kind of push towards that far sideline, and you could see that Dovitz, who was in that handler position, matched the two number 40s matched up against each other, being marked by Kilko, is that you can see him kind of planting, trying to shake the defender, find a way to get through it free, but because he's being face marked, he's able to really mirror effectively those movements. So actually, he did the right thing, and rather than moving back and forth, he just stood right there and said, look, he can't see where the disc is because he's staring directly at me, so just put it up out into space, and hopefully by the time he sees it, it's too late and I've already got it. It wasn't the best executed throw because it did almost give the defender a chance at it, but it was the right thing to do in that situation, and they played nicely from there to punch it in.
So 2 askings, 2 holds, and the next poll goes into the hands of Coach Jan Tanger, and he's not on the field, so that's going to go to the brick mark.
I was going to say, I can't believe Yang Tenga's still going, but I absolutely can.
You could believe that. I'm glad to see he's coaching, but He is a axe of a man for fitness, and I'm sure he still plays at some level and could still give a fair bit on this field. Metzger with the disc, wound up for the big, put it away as Jordy came under. High for a Freeney, and it causes a bobble. Now the break attack.
Freeney had a bit more time than he realized there. Maybe a bit more communication from the sideline and said, look, you don't have to go up quite so early, and you can just try and burgle a few more yards.
Dunshern absolutely jacks it, but a bit too much on that one. It goes well beyond Stankovic, and it will be a second chance to hold for the Flying Angels of Bern.
Yeah, he could say that Stankovic was the target on this one. I'm not sure he was. I think this is just a case of Stall's getting high. I'm not seeing anything. Let's just play for some field position.
And we'll talk about this weather just after this action, but interesting looking day, and we're already getting drips and drabs of it, so to speak. Jordy underneath to Metzger. The deep availed itself, but he took the next under to a mercy. Back to Metzger and into the hands of Dorn. Jordy near sideline, right in front of our cameras. And well covered on all angles, but finds Metzger late in the count. Metzger gets Dorn, but needs a layout to keep it alive. And the unders keep coming. Good cycling by FAB, and travel called as Jordy went into the guts to Metzger.
You've got Dunshern on the force here. I think he's saying that Jordy just dragged that foot to help create that angle for the inside break.
You can't break my mark that easy. It must be a travel. And there it is again. He throws the same third. Love to see that. Simon to Metzger. Dorn, red zone now, Benji. Oh, and a cheeky little around throw there. Love that out of Dorn. Jordy crowding the space just a little bit in the reset, but gets back to Metzger, who fills. Good defense from the Austrians in the small field right now, slowing it down just a little bit. Jordy engages Metzger and gets back to Jordy. That one shot for goal. It counts, and they get the hold after their second asking, but that one's in.
Yeah, they stayed patient nicely around the red zone. You can see what the plan was there from forward. They're getting a little bit flatter on the marks because they're trying to stop the scoring passes and say, you can utilize those break spaces as long as you're going laterally and you're not moving down the field closer towards the end zone. That was the layout from Dawn earlier in the point. But in the end, credit to Fab because they did what they should be doing. I love that. Again, taking advantage of the face mark, just rolling it out in front of Jordy, but just bouncing it back and forth outside the end zone, and trust that if you keep getting those cuts in the end zone, eventually you'll get someone free. And you're seeing there why taking a quote-unquote negative pass is not necessarily a negative option, because he could bounce it off Metzger there, utilize the give-go to get a little bit of better position going towards the end zone and get that flow into the back corner for the score.
And just correction on the goal score, that was Weibel with the goal for Flying Angels of Bern. 2-1, all holds thus far early in the game as the drizzle continues to slowly saturate the pitch. Dovitz goes up field and Ladix collects for him. Straight back to Dovitz, he does quarterback this offense. Bloschel. Ooh, and defense got a chance. That there was a mercy, and he got a touch and knocked it away.
Yeah, just floated, showed too much the underside of the disc to the wind, and Emercy is able to take the inside track and slap it away.
Here comes the break line potential. A mercy with a Freeney in the break space, but goes upfield to Lipcheski.
Beautiful low release on that break.
Afrini. Inside break to a mercy, just about. Odermatt fakes the big. Libszewski back to a Mercy in the attacking end, but made to work once again. The O-line tightening up, playing D, and get a chance back.
So much of the Flying Angels offense at that point was, you had bits where it felt a bit stagnant and they were just relying on Mercy to get one of those crafty break throws out just to open up a little bit of space, and they had continuation from there. But when Forward recovered, got back into position, then they found it a little bit of a struggle to get the offense moving again after it just kind of settled down a little bit. So credit to Forward for being able to recover, stop that break side momentum and flow, and get back into position to put enough pressure that the inside flick is overthrown.
Here comes the deep shot. Ooh, recovered. I thought he was off his pace, but Pal recollects himself, finds the disc, and is in the red zone waiting for his troops to fill in the gaps. Straight back to Dovitz. Pal. Goes way back to Dovitz. Lots of space between the stack and the disc now. Disc is back into play. Stall count mounting, looking for that break. Gets through only just, and actually does not. A touch on that. He's called a foul. This will be interesting if we get another look.
Yeah, Dovitz was running out of options, so he went with the offhand backhand that I think if you want to play at the top level, every player has to have in their game.
That is a tough call. I'm not sure if he's calling strip or foul.
Yeah, did Libaszewski get enough of that before?
If he's calling foul, from my first look, I didn't think so.
And actually,
after
the discussion, they've retracted it. And actually, I always like saying that if you're not sure, make the call, have the discussion, because you can say, actually, you know what, fair enough.
I was wrong.
Yeah, I'll take it back.
Takes a big person to admit their faults, especially in the heat of the moment. So well done for getting that done. A Mercy and FAB now with a chance to break.
It's a good job we're never wrong then, isn't it, Steph?
You bet. Benji. Big up for the Flying Angels, Elmiger. Libaszewski goes forward. Odermatt, shot for goal. Bit too far for a Freeney, and Forward will get another chance to hold here.
Yeah, Flying Angels are being given these opportunities, but by hook or by crook, Forward are just about keeping them out from the break. I think certainly if you're kind of viewing this analytically from a Flying Angels perspective, you're thinking we are generating the turnovers. You know, A, they're making mistakes, but we are also earning the disc through blocks, through pressure. We just got to trust that maybe we can tweak a couple of things when we have the disc in our hands on the D-line, and we can find a way to break through.
Big gainer off the first throw to Palle, and he continued, got a little bit greedy perhaps, but no, the defense had to foul to get there.
Yeah, I think it's a strip. I think Kilco saw the window to try and come through and smuggle in with the block, but just a little bit too late. Kane had it in his possession already. Strip is accepted, and
that bid too much body, I thought, but no foul call.
I was with you. I was very surprised that there wasn't a call there.
It was. I liked to see him launching, but he had to change that angle. He went into the body there. You see it again, but
yeah.
No foul called.
No, obviously happy enough with it, but yeah, I must admit I would not be appreciative of that level of contact, to be honest.
A Mercy gets a change of direction out of Odermatt to get the completion, and then goes near sideline to the D-getter, Kilco.
They're calling this down. Did Libaszewski get his hand underneath it?
Let's have another look if we can. Libaszewski. Here it is.
It's this one here.
I think it's up, and I think most of the crowd here just after it did touch, and Emercy gets it going. Good spirit there by both teams, agreeing that that one's up. Now in the red zone. Kilko looks the hammer, puts it away.
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned, yeah, just able to, it wasn't the conventional clap catch. In the end, he just ended up just getting one hand underneath and keeping it off the floor, but that's the benefit of having the replay monitors available, is that both sides can have a look at it and say, okay, actually, with the benefit of high insight and our wonderful ULTI.TV camera crew, we can see that it was up.
Emercy, nice low release, flat-footed backhand, and then to Odermatt, and they do get a big break early in this game. Put themselves up 3-1 bench.
It had been coming, you feel it, even if we didn't necessarily like the way they earned the disc back for that possession, that you can't say that Flying Angels haven't, you know, created that pressure. They haven't really forced forward to be kind of looking over their shoulders. Emercy just really operating the D-line, machine-like from the back. And then eventually you felt if Flying Angels kept being given chances by forward, that they were gonna capitalize on them, and capitalize they have.
You betcha. Looking over, well, without even looking over to the second field, I can tell you right now the Czechs are losing the semi. I can also tell you the Czechs are winning the semi.
Yeah, there's 3 SB4 on the field beyond this one.
The Czechs will have one guaranteed spot in the final. It is a split club, has made it this deep in the tournament. O-line versus D-line.
And this is one of the things I think that they can afford to do, having already secured their European spot by winning the spring invite in Paderborn a couple of weeks ago.
Now they are on refinement, and look out for FUI 3SB. I think they will be mostly under the 3SB banner, but they still tend to roll with the FUI shirts, so I guess it's tournament by tournament. We will see.
I say a couple of weeks ago. It was a couple of weeks ago, right? It was Tom's last weekend. I've been so out of the loop, Steph.
Benji's back. He's back in the loop. We've got him all caught up.
I know. It's great. Isn't it nice to be back? Like, I mean, in many ways, we never really left, right? But it's so nice to be back on the circuit again. God, I've missed it.
On the European tour, the best of the continental tours. The diversity of Ultimate we see is incredible. And the locations, oh goodness, we get to see it all. Here come forward. Zerloth goes back to Dovitz. Dovitz gets Duncan. The Stronghold Grit member with the tail wagon headband. Palle goes back to Dovitz. Dovitz sees Duncan again. He wound up, but put it away again. Instead, sticks with the Dovitz reset system and gave a lateral cut before he went upfield to Palle. Gets another under there. It's Zularth, and in for goal. He does tow it down. A couple fist pumps. They're in for a hold after giving up the break 1 point earlier.
It's always what you want to see after you get broken, is that, okay, we might change a couple of people over just to get some fresh legs on, but we can't let the opponent build up a head of steam, get that break train rolling. So just calm things down a little bit. Just give yourself that little confidence boost by putting in your next offensive point. Is good to see from forward, from a neutral perspective.
And Benji, the weather, what's happening here?
It's not great, Chief. It's been overcast all weekend, and yesterday I think mercifully we kind of didn't really get the rain. There's the replay. You can see that foot clearly in bounds there. But today it is wet. It is very wet. There's still a bit of a chill in the air as well. I've put my lovely ULTI.TV sun hoodie on under my lovely ULTI.TV jumper, and yeah, it's very much a case of layer up, get out of the rain. Not ideal ultimate conditions. We saw a fair bit of zone played by teams yesterday, and even though it's not particularly windy, I think the disc is going to be so slippery that I wouldn't be surprised to see it today. Jakob Dunsen, it looks to me like he's not even wearing like Frisbee gloves. He's wearing like construction gloves just to try and get some grip.
Let's see how those work. Here comes Kilko and the O-line. Metzger sticks it right away. Odermatt there. And the friendly fire breaks up the play.
Yeah, I think it looks to me like they took each other out. I love that put from Metzger, though. Again, you just see the center of the field open up, and it's right down Broadway. But, yeah, the two players there. There's two defenders there as well. Bit of a maelstrom underneath it.
Liebeszewski was in position. I believe the bulk of that contact came from Odermatt, his teammate. But there were 4 people in the same boxed area. So we'll wait and see how they work this one out.
Yeah, and he's making the signal say, you know what, no call, turnover stands, which I think was our gut instinct here in the booth. Checked back in, and it is going to be a turnover. Frustrating, though, because in many ways you did a lot of good things. You set up a put, it was well executed, you had receivers there, but just maybe a bit of communication issues.
Ernst picks up for the D-line as Dunshern gives a second jab cut before he goes up, and had to go up early, and that was enough for Metzger to step in and take it away. Odermatt now to a mercy. They are on the doorstep and cash it in and go up 4-2 now with that point bench.
You can credit a mercy with that block, I think, because, yeah, he doesn't get there, and he's not necessarily that close to getting there, but he takes an outrageously early angle on it, and in doing so, he forces Dunshern to go up early as well. They actually cleared out that space particularly well for Dunshern to just kind of clown around in there, right? Give him just give him a lot of room to work with for that up line cut. But the angle, it comes out a bit high, and Mercy forces the early read, and then Metzger, as you mentioned, is just waiting behind to just pick it off. And then the other great thing about intercepting it rather than letting it hit the floor is A, you guarantee that there's no chance of a second effort layout from Dunshern, and B, your offense is already on the move, and again, Mercy is just shredding out there with his break throws.
And C, you don't have to hear us commentators remind you to catch your Ds.
I mean, but that's the best bit.
For us.
Yeah, probably. Hello to everyone watching on YouTube. It's good to have you along on a wet Sunday morning here at Vienna Spring Break.
Everybody out there seems to be having a wonderful time, though. Dovitz winds up, delivers to Pack. Gets an immediate upfield shot to Zularth, and then he fires it out of bounds.
Not entirely sure what went wrong there.
Austrians shooting themselves in the foot a little bit here. They're getting open, a little bit of impatience, looking upfield a little too early, trying to take big chunks earlier than they may need to. Jordy comes under for Fab.
Oh, he just about got away with that one.
And then Dorn continues to Afrini, and everybody is Schwarzenegger flexing because they're in Vienna.
Or there's a pick. Or both. Tell you what, I'm not. Either you can say that Lorenz Jordy judged that to perfection, or you can say that he maybe got a bit fortunate because Powell was just charging down with an enormous head of steam.
Simon. Oh, and Dorn drops a sitter. Dovitz. And they're on the charge, are forward, but slow things down just a bit. Going back to Dovitz. Now a shot for goal. Puts the toe down. That one is in for Miha Pak. And they bring it back within one and get an all-important hold.
Again, when you're playing from behind, as they are in this game, you cannot afford to let your opponent really get out of sight. And it's not really been particularly clean. You see there, it's maybe a little bit behind Dawn, but he'd certainly back himself to make it. Forward are just hanging around in this game. We streamed the quarterfinal yesterday against the Austrian U24s, and although they were comfortable winners in the end, it was, yeah, a slightly sloppy performance, I think. Maybe last game of the day, there's a bit more fatigue in the legs, in the mind, and yeah, I think they would have gone, you know, because obviously you can go back and watch all the games, not just from this weekend, but from all our tournaments for free on our YouTube channel. Maybe you go back and look and say, okay, yes, we made mistakes. Why were we making mistakes? Was it just, you know, just being a little bit lax in our execution? Were they bad decisions? Were we not structuring things in the right way? You get that opportunity to go back and analyze and see if you can pinpoint some things to work on.
I think in that particular case after the D, it was, as you mentioned, a little bit of lax after the turnover, just not firing on all cylinders immediately, and that second of hesitation gave forward all the space they needed to get their hold. But now it's FAB going to a Mercy and then a Freeney at midfield. Metzger takes an under, and they're going through all the hands now.
The rain really is coming down at this point.
A Mercy again. Oh, a great underneath backhand break to set up that score bench.
Filth, innit? Absolute filth out of Mercy. I think there's a tiny little bit of air bounce on this as well to get it under the mark, but what he does well is that he gets the release out nice and early, and there's so much touch on this disc, just a little bit of maybe backspin to help keep it aloft, really generating the torque through the wrist so that it just sits up there. And if you're a receiver and you see a throw like this go up, as Metzger does, I mean, you are licking your lips, because that is an absolute beaut.
Absolute beaut. I just can't say anything except repeat exactly what you said, Benji. That is a thrower's throw. That is, you can't ask for anything better than that. On the break side and the short side of the field, defense can't get there at all, and you still put the air bounce in it, get the float, two-hand clap, in stride. There's nothing else you can say about how good that throw was.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess there's lots else you can say, but
Milan was very happy with that shot on camera too as well, I think.
So, forward, need holds is the understatement. This is a must score, as they all will be on when they're receiving pulls. Zulath gets it up to Kane, using the far sideline now. Kane goes to Palu. And around to Dovitz. Zulat to Palu. Red zone action now, shortened field. Let's see how they adjust their offense. First things first is a big old dump. Dovitz was keen to get that one out of hand right away, as he could have lost his defender who was still on the ground after the layout. And that one straight into Dorn, not nearly enough on it to get the lead to Dovitz. Jordy comes under. There is a deep option that avails itself under as they slow things down. Oh, they slow nothing down. Dorn stuck it, and no one there to receive.
Just really pings it off his finger, doesn't he? And it's never going to give anyone a real shot at it. I think, again, the turnover just came from a miscommunication. Not sure. Are you going this way, that way, forwards, backwards, over the Irish Sea? That's how it goes, right? But, like, in the end, easily gobbled up by the defence. They just couldn't capitalise. I don't know if it's because forward are maybe integrating some external players, maybe because obviously they've got people playing for U24s, going through just a bit of roster turnover, that you are going to see maybe more miscommunication. I'll put my teeth back in. Ironically, I can't say the word miscommunications than you would otherwise.
Forward, their second asking, and it ends up in the same situation, giving it right back to FAB, as Lorenz Zulat can't get the throw on target. Simon, underneath to Von Steiger, back to Dorn. Afreni goes around to Dorn. And a timeout called. Didn't like what they were looking at upfield, Benj, and having a chat about it might be their best option now.
Yeah, each team gets 1 timeout to use a half, and it's also wet and cold, so just maybe trying to get a bit more warmth and energy in the legs. Also, not a terrible idea, to be honest.
Yeah, wet and cold, and they take their timeouts out in the middle of the pitch. So they'll stay wet and cold, but they'll at least get to think about it while they are wet and cold. And we will have a small break too. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back after the timeout.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
We believe mixed is the best for the sport, for the world. That's why we're making a global showcase, starting in Europe, made in Amsterdam. ULTI.TV. ULTI.net.
Those who do not know their history can never relive it. The skies, the dives, the sideline smiles. Our past is held in photo albums, drinking stories. The present is a gift. And here at ULTI.TV we want to make sure we always appreciate it, capturing the immortal moments of Ultimate from around the world and making sure everyone can enjoy them for free, forever. Because the future belongs to all of us.
After the timeout, all these players are wetter and colder, but they may have a plan to go with that. The very standard vertical stack out of Flying Angels with a very deep reset out of Dorn, and that's what they look to first. Dorn's jacked it, it's low, but it's good enough. Jordy's on the reception. Now less than 10 meters out, that one for goal to Wiebel, and it's in, and they make the timeout count and put one on the board.
Yeah, another break there, 6-3. And the timeout worked well. You did notice how deep they had the reset set, and that's because so he can push the defender downfield, plant, come back, and then rather than kind of getting too far upfield into the space for the cutters, you know, he can still catch that little dump off, and it's quite a lateral pass, and then they still clears out this inside lane on this near side to put this deep shot.
Jordy was wide open to set this play up.
Yeah, the defender does the right thing here, takes the runner to prevent just the easy throw to space into the end zone, but they still can't recover in time. And Wiebel catches another goal, and at the moment, the Swiss doubling up the hometown.
6-3. They are feeling the burn.
Yeah, Swiss Ultimate is in an interesting place at the moment with, obviously you think about the kind of the two-story clubs, Flying Angels and Frisbee, who have been kind of at the top of the tree for so long, but Swiss Nationals last year, which you can go back and watch on ULTI.TV's YouTube channel, by the way, there was a changing of the guard somewhat, and yes, Bern won, but no, it wasn't Flying Angels, it was Panthers Bern catching their first national title.
Who in the what now?
I know.
You see Dunshern stepping over onto the O-line, of which he did play a fair bit of yesterday against the Austrian under-24s, but started this game D-line only. I think now is the right time to have him involved and protect these holds. You may see shorter lines as Stankovic has it far sideline.
Everyone's going to get set back into position downfield.
Stankovic engages Dovitz and gets it, and there's some separation. Oh goodness, that was almost in three players' hands and eventually in nobody's hands.
Yeah, again, just maybe a little miscommunication, slight throwing errors in this rain. And there's another one. Despite the layout, goes to turf.
Dovitz goes to Dunshern, and Mercy had a crack at it, but they get the hard-earned hold there and put one on to put the point spread to 2.
I think what you're seeing is why teams probably don't mind playing the field position game so much in this sort of weather, because yes, they turned over, but they turned over on the end zone line. FAB gave it back on the very first pass, and then one pass later it's a score. Sometimes, you know, there's no shame in playing the percentages occasionally.
When the offenses are not firing on all cylinders, as you say, Benj, not the worst idea to leave it to them to make the mistakes and take advantage of the shorter remaining field after the errors. The Vienna Spring Break, a lot of people camping here in this weather too, incredibly. But they did have a fun evening soiree last night over at the Stadium Cafe bar grounds there.
We ended up hosting an impromptu Eurovision watch party.
It was my first Eurovision ever, Benji.
Oh, he dropped the pull.
Goodness gracious, that is good defense by forward. Whatever they put on that disc worked. As I tend to assume, he must have rubbed it under his armpit before he sent it the length of the pitch. But we all know that's a bit of hogwash. Lucky break for forward, horrible break for FAB. Let's see what they can do with a Dunshern. Disc in hand. This is the D-line doing nothing but playing O, and they've given it right back through both hands, just couldn't squeeze it.
Yeah, that was obviously tactical for FAB, is, you know, give them the red zone possession only to crush the dreams.
Goodness, that was squandered opportunity. Simon goes to Metzger. Metzger winding up but had a defender in the lane. Dunshern switching players. They are in a bit of a zone here. Swirling defense, and Dunshern leaves his feet to get it and puts, not quite yet, sorry. Now the dump, but on this doorstep, all sorts of traffic. It is a mess out there, but has he found a way? He has not, and another one goes away.
Trying to get creative with that wicked low release, and I think it was tipped on the way through to its intended target. What you're seeing there is they're giving Dunshern a little bit more license to roam around. They're letting him off the leash a little bit and trusting that he's going to make plays, as he did there to get the disc back. But once more, they can't punch it in.
FAB now with a second chance after a dropped pull and a second error. They now get this is actually a third chance, despite it only being their second set of throw, and another beautiful defensive bid. The discs are slippery and difficult to put accurate, but the defensive plays are causing these turnovers.
Yeah, they're just sitting and scrambling around that stack, and because they've got three players all close together, it means that you can bracket that, you can set players around it, and they will come in and roam in and fly in to get those blocks. Need to sort out the spacing of that offense.
Forward now, Ernst to Dunshern. Dunshern changes the direction. Gets the inside and then wide around to Dunshern, not quite in again. This time of asking, he is, and it's a break for forward, which they desperately needed. Point differential to 1.
Yeah, their first break of the game, brilliant time to get it as well. Because ideally, if you're forward, you want to eat these in and get them done before half-time, right? The sooner the better. That one again, just trying to throw through the middle of the field. Ernst reads the thrower's eyes. And this time, finally, after what felt like an age for forward fans, it's just a simple toss into the end zone for the score. It is wet and cold in Vienna. I feel like we've said this a lot, but I also feel like it still needs to be said. There is a level of uncomfort, yes. Going with the rolling pull, despite the fact that we had Fab drop it last time, because, you know, it's slippy, it's quite likely to take a roll in these conditions. Not a bad idea.
And the Fab offense underway here. Mercy gets it back. Oh, and another drop there. Libashewski puts it to ground, went casual with one hand and couldn't hang on. Dunshern goes around. Sam Stagg, oh, a body flying, but not enough, leading to Dunshern, and he's in a second break in a row. 6 apiece and forward finding some momentum.
We did say that as the game went on, we'd begin to see maybe a few more mistakes creep in. Forward have cleaned things up a little bit, whereas Fab, all of a sudden they're struggling to adapt to the conditions maybe a little bit, or just focus, concentrate maybe. And to Forward's credit, they're a bit, you know, after generating turns but not really being able to do anything with them, they now are finding some more offense after the turn.
Looking across to the other field, all we can tell you is that it's 7-5, and as with the last time, we know that the Czechs are leading and losing that affair. So, 2 breaks in a row, 3-point run for Forward, tied up at 6s. We're back in one here in Vienna. 13 shirt set to pull. And zips one the length of the field. And Mercy and Simon exchange possessions to the approximate brick mark before the defense tightens up. Mercy gives a little shoulder check after he felt he received some, giving a bit of what he's taken. A Mercy again from Dorn this time. The defense off its feet. A Mercy gets a step while he gets back. The defense gets back onto his feet. A Mercy with eyes upfield goes to Metzger. Metzger finds a Mercy. Back to Simon, and a pick called on the field. A little bit of discussion here, but where they were on the pick, what kind of catching up they might do. Richter comes straight back to the mark on Simon. Simon around to Jordy. Jordy leads a Mercy around the defender with a outside in, and then straight back to Jordy far sideline. Good handler movement, a great low release backhand again out of a Mercy. We've seen him very effective with those as a layout necessary to pick up the next by Simon. Simon back to a Mercy. Red zone defense tightening up inside break. Dorn handles with one hand, and Fab stay ahead and stop the bleeding.
It's nothing too intricate, really, I think, from Flying Angels, but just, you know, we'll move it around the back. We'll be smart about it. You face mark, we put it to space. If you don't, you know, we'll try and make those kind of short jab steps. You go flatter on the force, we'll go wider, and eventually we'll find someone out of position downfield. We'll get them involved. And again, it's those low releases from Mercy that are proving so devilish to stop.
There's one more look at the one that was requiring a layout for, but a Mercy's backhand arounds have been consistent in frequency and quality.
Although his inside flicks aren't bad either.
He can throw, eh?
It's been said, I think.
As such, he is set up to pull. A mercy. Sends down to the forward O-line. Dovitz. Gets the under to Ladix. And inside to Zularth. He wound up, but then goes backwards. Kane with a mounting stall count, looking at Dovitz, waiting for a cut. Gets it. 2 hands up top. Dovitz gone deep. Zulat there, but a mercy steps in front. The field was ending on them a bit too quick there.
We've said it before. Those hucks tight to the sideline, you do not give yourself a lot of room to work with. And now, with a break, Fab could take half.
A mercy. Oh, whoa. Afrini had more time than I thought he should have had to catch that one.
I'm so surprised that Dovitz didn't think, hello, I could get a Callahan here. Even I was thinking that, and I'd have no chance.
Odermatt goes to a mercy. He wound up a good mark, a good defense on the mark. From their own end, high stall count, good defense. Odermatt gets it and looks back to a mercy. A mercy winds up and then goes underneath to Kilko. Liebszewski inside to a mercy. In the attacking half now. Elmiger. Straight back to center. A mercy again, leading backhands again. Afrini puts the foot down inbounds, but not in goal. Afrini goes backwards. A mercy required to lay out. Inside break. And a play was made to save that one. I believe it's Odermatt, the collector of that goal.
The way Mercy just kind of left himself in a bit of a heap on the floor after he threw it, kind of shows how he had to kind of craft his body in a way to release it. And also, ridiculous catch, frankly. Ridiculous catch. I think Mercy felt like he might have got away with one there. Here's the D down the other end. Mercy just getting a hand in there to disrupt the direction of the disc. This one we thought might be there, but it's not quite, so we'll go around, we'll play some resets.
Plays made all over the field.
Yeah, that time laying out with the left hand is a mercy. And there's the scoring pass. He just sits down and it puts it out into space. And the defender, to their credit, I think it's Paolo, comes so close to getting that. And it 100% requires the flying layout from the flying angel of Odermatt for the score.
Anything less would have been a defense in the end zone. Great job by Odermatt to ensure that throw counted for goal, and now that's a hold and a break for FAB as they stretch it out to 8-6, and a halftime mirror happens, but nothing changes as such.
Yeah, they've switched ends, but it's still going to be forward receiving.
That is right. Something changes. Benji, nothing gets past this man. So no halftime break as per yesterday, though there are some differences today, Benji.
Yeah, games are, rather than Cap coming on at 70 minutes, Cap comes on at 80 minutes, so an extra 10 minutes for the last bracket games.
More fun.
More Frisbee.
And so you see again, forward goes behind and Dunshern comes back out to play O, and he's off to the races. Dovitz does not send the deep, but now the deep is there. Metzger well in front and smacks that one over to the Czech Republic.
That's a long way.
Okay, over to the field.
I know what you
Republic
meant. I know what you meant.
But it was a big spike, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, he got a big old slap of that one, didn't he?
Yeah, not a small piece. He got the whole thing. Simon goes around and about, playing in front of their own end zone. Lebashowski throws away, and forward will get a small field to look at.
I believe they call these testing conditions.
Dovitz saunters over to the disc while his team sets up in a deep stack, 2 handlers and 1 ISO. 1 handler left wide open. Dunshern with the disc, 3 meters out. Dovitz shakes for him. The throw floats way too much, but counts somehow, some way. That was not the throw he wanted, but the catch that he's happy to take.
Somehow, some way, they keep coming up with funky ass stuff like every single day.
So 7-8, they get a hold there in the most peculiar of fashions.
Let's not sugarcoat it. That's not how they drew it up.
No, that was a misthrown disc. But Johnny on the spot, the garbage man, however you want to call it, there was the right player in the right spot. If you're thinking from a forward perspective there, they got away with one.
I wonder if maybe that is what Dunstan's trying to do a little bit on a high story things. Well, I'll put it up because you never know. It's better than trying to just throw it to somewhere. Put a bit of air under it and see if you can get a play, potentially. That might be over-generous.
Over-generous.
Yeah.
It's good to think around here and try and understand what they might be up to, but I believe he wanted to hit that primary receiver the first.
And he just popped it up.
And there's just too much wind under it. His construction gloves a little too slick this time.
Yeah, I agree with you, but gotta have a discussion at least.
Oh, for sure. Let's assume. Let's analyze. Let's see what's happening out there. Dorn goes to a Mercy. What do you call that thing on a Mercy's head?
Like a necky or a snood?
A snood. That's the word that I would never use, but I've heard a couple times now. Wearing the snood. A Mercy and Simon have gone back and forth, and now upfield to Dorn. Dorn winds up, and then a great around throw that had the defense spinning his head on a swivel trying to find it. Dorn. Eyes only for a Mercy until a late upfield look for Simon. Now shot for goal. That one is there. Wiebel puts it in, keeps the lead to 2-9-7, still to FAB.
I think that's at least 3 goals for Viber, and it's interesting because I feel like we don't necessarily call his name that much, except when he's catching points. Just, to be honest, maybe the most important time you need to catch it.
Indeed. Know your role, play your role. Sometimes you need to be an every other toucher like a Mercy. Sometimes you touch once per point, and it's the one that counts the most. Well, they all count the same, let's be honest. You get the feeling that the last one solidifies all those other catches. So at 9-7, FAB with the D-line out, ready to pull in the hands of a Mercy.
FAB still in the box seat in this game, but as we've seen, forward they can string some runs together, so they are by no means out of it yet with about 25 minutes until the cap comes on.
Dovitz. Goes to Palle on the near sideline. Now Dovitz stretches the field again. A zone in front of them from FAB right now. Dovitz directing traffic. Likes what he sees and then gives to Palle. And again, with a slight hesitation to ensure the space was opened, chiseling through now is Dovitz with efficiency and a bump on the mark. Foul, no contest. Dovitz giving and going, every other throwing. The 70 shirt now for forward. Pack gets one to Palle. Palle to Dovitz. There is space in front and a goal for forward. A all-important hold while leaving Dunshern on the bench. A good sign for forward there.
And they are generating a little bit of forward momentum here. You know, it's not spectacular, but it was solid and consistent. And in weather like this, that's probably more important. The fact that you can go back to those fundamentals. You know, run a system, run a game plan. Because yes, you need to be able to adapt when things go off script, and you need to be able to improvise. And yes, a big play can be a big energizer, but you don't want to have to rely on that. Ideally, in these conditions, you want to be, you know, making these passes as safe as possible. You know, going not through the motions, but what do they say? Kiss.
Keep it simple, Samuel.
Stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Although I actually don't know if there's anyone called Samuel on either of these rosters, but you know.
Keep it stupidly simple.
If you're not having to worry about who's where because you just know it, it's second nature, then you can focus more on your throwing, on your catching, taking a little bit of extra time. It just frees that kind of that brain space for you a little bit.
I would love to do a little brain space freeing up for myself.
Me too.
Afridi makes sure that pull reception. Metzger. To a Mercy in the backfield, and Jordy as we see a Huck stopping front from forward, and Dunshern with the hand block.
I like it because they're going flatter, and the hammer over the top.
Oh, he was waiting for the defender to do something and didn't put his hands out till the very last minute. Schwab lets that one bounce off his hand quite literally.
I was going to say, Dunshern's doing a good job there. Again, he's going a little bit flatter and a little bit further away on the force. He really wants to stop Immersi's low releases. They got it to work, and the hammer looked good as well. But again, in these conditions, it's not an easy catch, although could have done a better job than he did.
Immersi and Fab with their second kick at the can to hold. Foul, no contest. Just away from the play, I believe that's Jordy and Schwab that had the tangle up. Immersi. It's a great matchup there. Immersi Dunshern, keep your eye on that one. Metzger with the disc. And thrown to space, but a space that never became occupied. Ernst to pick up. Floats one to Dunshern. Wide across the number 7 shirt for forward. Looks to the dump space.
Can they stay patient?
Oh, and almost gets him going backwards, but hangs on, does Richter. The bells are ringing. It is 10 a.m. Scuba, and they get away with one, but they may be an injury on the field.
Yeah, might have picked up some collateral damage on the way. That was an ugly little scuba there from Dunshire. I'm not going to pretend that it's not, right? And I love a scuba, but that ain't it, Chief.
The wind got all of it. Maybe even a hand on it. Maybe a Mercy got a hand on that. Either way, the flight path did not look pretty. Whether he was blocked or the wind just blew it straight back. But also a completion. Ugly or pretty, they do count the same.
Unfortunately, this is true. There are no style points, at least not on the scoreboard.
Underneath comes from Stankovic. Shot for goal and broken up by Jordy. But the 61 shirt Schwab couldn't handle another shot for goal. From the coffin corner, it's Metzger. Big one, big gainer. Dorn hangs on. Not a lot of space. Simon over his head. Metzger almost picked up, but ground stripped and pops it back to forward. Dunshire picks up. I knew he wanted to go big early. He's gone big early. And this one finally counts. Stankovic with the goal and the break for forward.
We're level pegging again.
9 apiece. Cracking game. Breaks have gone back and forth. A couple big runs, a couple chip-aways at the breaks. But no matter how you slice it, there's nothing that separates these two teams except the order of service in which they receive pulls now.
Did really well to get the disc back on the previous possession, and Metzger thinks he's getting his hand underneath it, but just bangs the elbow, ground strips himself in the landing, and Mercy on the force. I think gets a bit of inadvertent contact there, a bit of a finger to the face on the follow-through from Dunshire. But the put is tried and true, and Stankovic races towards the back of the end zone to even us up. The wind is beginning to pick up now as well, as if we needed that.
As if we needed that, us here in the commentary booth, as if they needed that, the players out there on the field. A little bit more entertaining to see how they react to it. We just end up putting on an extra layer.
I haven't got any more layers.
Milan in his full parka, manning camera 2 right now. Lucia in the back, Lucia rather, lost on camera 1. We don't even know what she's doing behind the tent. And of course, Mustache Rob Henderson, man in the box right now for this game. Wonderful crew as always, bringing you all the action. Metzger.
Your touch is looking good, by the way, Steph.
Thank you very much. After your Mario Brothers comment on the on the preseason show, I'm not sure what you think, Benji. Here comes Odermatt. Odermatt goes to center. A Mercy there. You see Dungeon putting on the Jets, but couldn't quite get there.
Sorry, I was just going to say that Dunshire on a Mercy, that's the matchup, isn't it?
It is, and a full bobble there by a Mercy. You see his body language, not at all happy with himself. But we are going to keep our eyes glued to this 46 versus 24 matchup. As with the rest, and a down call or a foul call? Is he saying the disc touched ground? He is saying that the disc touched ground, and he's happy to concede. Turnover is going to go to FAB, but not quite that quickly. Odermatt was off to the races early. Now FAB to set up. Kilko moves the disc to Metzger to initiate the possession. A mercy. Goes to Weibel. That wind is gusting, and as it gusts, Odermatt puts one to ground. I would not be surprised, Benji, if we get a punt.
A punt or a timeout, or both. It is treacherous out there right now.
Oh, and another drop. The punt, not a bad option. Instead, Stankovic puts it to ground, and a short field for FAB. A mercy to pick up. Note the Mark Dunshern giving a lot of room on these marks now with a mercy's ability to break the tight ones. Metzger gets to Kilko. A mercy. Nice inside feed to Metzger. Now he goes crossfield. The bid's there. The scoring bid just shy. I think the defensive bid did enough to cause some hesitation at 1 steps of slowdown, and the score will not be.
It's one of those where you feel like you could get it at the start, no. In the middle, no. Maybe at the end, also no. Agonizing stuff for FAB.
And they get it right back. I'm surprised not to see one of the two again, Benji, the timeout or the huck.
I think part of the reason we're not seeing it is because it's so miserable out there, is that you don't want to be standing around doing nothing.
Now this disc is not exactly where it's going to be picked up, but no more than 5 meters from the goal line on that far sideline. Leading in and bounced away again. Odermatt clutching at the ribs. I wouldn't be surprised to see a call here.
I think it was very clear what the plan was going to be there from Flying Angels. They telegraphed that play a little bit. It allowed the defender to come in from the backside. And that is an uncontested strip for a score.
Uncontested strip for a score. Here's another look. Oh, he did come through him in the back there.
It's definitely a foul from, I think it's Stankovic. He's the player coming from behind to get it. The question is just whether, I think Odermatt had full control by that point. Obviously, we can only speculate as to precisely what the discussion is.
I mean, the initial hand signal said goal. The secondary hand signals say the same. Though there was something said in between, it didn't change anything.
Yeah, 10-9, still the score. Well, still the score, now the score. Again, Flying Angels just nosing in front. Little over 10 minutes left before cap comes on. I'm considering closing the wall of this tent.
Oh, not yet, Benz. Let's rough it.
By the way, I know you mentioned earlier that there are a fair few brave souls camping on site. We're very fortunate that the lovely Christina has volunteered to be hosting us this weekend.
Thunder and lightning back again.
Wasn't it nice to be able to go back to a bed rather than a tent?
Oh, indeed it was.
Even if you rejected my advances for a spooning.
Benz, let's keep that off air. So Simon set to pull.
I must admit, a lot of the faces out there look like they could probably do with a cuddle as well. They are, yeah.
Cuddle, a warm blanket.
Mug of cocoa.
A high top table with a heater system built in, which we do happen to have in our booth right now. Oh, thrown right into the defense. Dorn smacks away.
The defender was right there. Such a risky throw.
Yeah, I don't entirely understand that one. Von Steiger goes to Jordy and right back to Simon. Around to Dorn, far sideline. pushed up line, but well defended when he got there. That one, a lot on it. Christian can't get up the big receiver. Still too high for him, and let's see what Forward do with their next possession.
That's very much Dawn running out of stall, isn't it? And thinking, put it to the end zone, give someone a chance, and in the end it just kept rising and just kept fading away, and Kristen couldn't get it. But at least they've got a bit better field position.
They do have a bit better field position, but I still would have some inkling to do something similar with this disc, because I had spoke about on the last possession. Instead, they've gone double around, and they get away with a Johnny on the spot there. Zularth comes, and there is the huck. And as much as that doesn't come off, I am not opposed to that, the way these last couple of points have gone.
Yeah, if you're Forward, you're thinking, I'd much rather play near that end zone than near our end zone.
Yeah, defense getting the advantage now. This weather, the 8th defender on the pitch.
Maybe the 9th and 10th as well.
Yeah, it is getting to that stage. It is wind and wet right now. The wind, again, not howling, but strong enough, most certainly.
Yeah, it's one where it is going to affect your throws if you're not careful, and when it's raining as well, yeah, a cold wind, it just exacerbates that.
But Fab managing the weather. Jordy gets it. That one's not going to count in final. And Forward will start again, and from the huck, they will have gained about 15 meters. That's going to come in maybe 20 when they get it back.
It's a little bit like watching a rugby game with teams just kicking for territory.
Kicking for touch.
Or, you know, like an NFL game when teams also can't get anything going. Punters are people too, you know.
Yes, they are. Punt and pin. Not the worst strategy when weather goes astray. Dovitz around, great centering throw in these conditions. Straight back to him. Halle comes under, but well enough covered. Ladix back to Dovitz. Halle, but that one too far. And this is a reasonably short field for the Flying Angels. Wind up by Afrini, but doesn't like it. Then inside to Jordy. Afrini to Dorn. A lot of slipping and sliding going on upfield. Dorn got himself free. His defenders got crossed up. He fakes the big and then goes around to Afrini, who saves that errant throw. Jordy. Inside to Dorn. Threads the needle. Afrini again as the defender turned his head. And this one is floating, 50-50 ball, 50-50, 50-50 ball. Everybody had a chance at that. And let's see what Dovitz does. No deep cut generated. Now Palu's going, and I like the potential because the short throw potential is getting lower and lower as we go.
It's become a real grind fest in the second half, hasn't it? Coach Yang Tenga on the sideline. I think wants cooler heads to prevail and take the time out here.
Let's see if Afrini honors his coach's request. No,
nope.
He hasn't yet. Dorn with the disc. Dorn goes up. Christian can't get it on the first asking. Does get the second and gives to Jordy. Nice bounce. Receiver's bounce there.
Just had the Hooters to say we've got 5 minutes left before the cap comes on.
Simon goes around to Christian, and they get a huge break. 9-11 emergency. Wow, what an ugly point. These conditions are really implementing themselves on this game.
When the game gets a bit scrappy, a bit ugly like this, not in terms of spirit or attitude necessarily, but just in terms of, you can tell that both sides are finding it difficult with the inclement weather out there. Just, you know, even this, just that one break advantage can be huge. Just getting a replay of that last score that he's going to give the Flying Angels that 2-point advantage. I mean that if Forward are going to win, that they are getting to find a couple of breaks now. Both sides kind of formulating some plans for this upcoming point, offensively and defensively. Immersi has it ready to pull. Also, in a game like this, a good pull can be vital because you want to give them obviously as unoptimal starting field position as you can. Something like that pins them near their own end zone in the corner. Just do not give them any free field position.
Dovitz.
Lovely break.
To Zularth. Great cut by Dovitz. Breaking ankles out there. Now a great up line. Dunshern comes under with space. Goes wide around and Dovitz does well to keep possession there. Now Zularth required to make a play, but cannot with the defense draped over him.
I think another break here might be the final nail in the coffin.
Could do it. Odermatt gets upfield, up the sideline, now inside to Metzger. A Mercy. Showing his full range. That one down. Odermatt can't get two hands under it.
Expecting to hear the jingle to say time is over any second now.
Dovitz. He's gone deep. Oh, what a play by Stankovic. Gets back to his feet, disc in hand, and now sets up the D. And what a throw, too. That one comes off his thumb, and they are in for a goal. Very necessary hold after giving away an opportunity.
Stankovic, my guy. What the hell? That was awesome.
The catch out of control, and then the throw almost seemed accidental, but wow, did he squeeze that one to thread the needle there, too.
There was the turnover. Yeah, it just doesn't quite get going, does it? And I like the huck look from Dovitz. He thought he was going to get there, and that's the presence as well, not just the flying bid, but you see him turn his wrist so he's not ground stripping himself on landing, and it's just get it high, just shovel it out of the hand, basically. Forward players hustling downfield, eventually swinging across the end zone for the score. 10-11. Haven't heard the end of game who to go, but I'm pretty sure it must have done by this point, right?
It's gotta be. But I didn't hear it either, but we've got the cans on. Martina Metrova, the Slovakian, picking up with Shout. Made herself a highlight reel last week in Bruges. Is pretty excited to see Stankovic making himself a highlight reel here in Vienna. Great to have you on.
That'll be the time is over sound I think we just heard.
Okay, time is over, so finish this point and +1. Simon.
A break here for Forward brings us to Universe.
That would be cool. A Mercy with the disc. A Freeney now with all sorts of traffic in that area. Not many throwing lanes because of it, and they are chipping and chiseling. Metzger. Jordy. Simon. Inside to Jordy and straight to Metzger with a bid that now offers separation upfield. Metzger is all alone for a moment as the defense resets. Dorn. To Metzger as he loses Kane on the defense. Simon with separation. Around for goal, Dorn's there. Game to 13 with a nice lead right now.
Yeah, the task for forward is clear. 3 on the spin. They have done it earlier in this game, but Flying Angels firm favourites at this point, you have to say.
The easiest part of the job should be the first asking here for forward. Can they walk in a hold?
Yeah, I know you want to get the break train rolling, but it has to leave the offensive station first. Forward 10, Flying Angels 12, game to 13 here in wet and windy Vienna. Come to Vienna, they said. It'll be lovely, they said.
Spring break, they said. When I think of spring breaks, I think of bikinis and beaches. This is not quite what I had in mind. But all said, nowhere else I'd rather be than best seats in the house for this semifinal, despite the inclement conditions.
It's all part of the job, isn't it?
Best job in the world. That one may have landed out, if not very near the sideline and rolled out. Dovitz picking up, looks like he's going to head straight to the brick mark.
I think that tells you all you need to know about where the ball landed.
That means it landed out, Benji. Dovitz with the windup. Must score situation for forward. They can, of course, afford a turnover, but they'd rather do it on the first asking. Shot for goal, picked up and put down. Ladix does the first part of the job, and they get the hold.
Forward aren't afraid to shoot their shot, are they? They've not got gun shy late in the game. If anything, it's the opposite. They feel like, heck the weather. We back ourselves to execute the throws. We back our receivers to make tough catches. Stankovic on their last toe point. This time it's Ladic. You see the Zerlaut just catches the underneath. No hesitation. Ripping it down that far sideline. Excellent elevation to grab that one and pull it down with the right hand. There's the hold that forward needed. Now for a couple of breaks.
Now the tall task. Let's see how they call their lines, who they put out there. They've got some of their Slovakian pickups on the D-line. But how will they generate? I imagine they will run a match defense, but any defense can cause troubles with this weather helping out, as we said. The 8th, potentially 9th, potentially 10th defender.
And speaking of troubles, Troubles box in the women's semis is up next.
Speaking of, excited to see what happens there. We have some guests getting ready in the commentary box. Dorn with the disc. A mercy now, chance to win and feature in the final. If Byrne can pop this one in, Forward need some help and need a D. First things first. Lag defense out of the Austrians. In fact, it is a zone with lots of traffic around the disc. Now they are now match defense. I'm sorry, and the Flying Angels have 6 inside the box here, chipping away at space. Metzger gets the disc. He looked upfield, and we now see a semblance of a stack. A Mercy looks inside, but Metzger goes up line and then gets it. The shot for goal as they switch gets taken away. A Mercy, wide side to Simon, all alone. Straight back to a Mercy. Shot in for Dorn, not quite for goal. That one will be. Christian hangs on, and FAB are going to the final of the Vienna Spring Break.
Yeah, I think in the end, probably deserved winners. Both sides had flashes of brilliance and some struggles as well at times. But in the end, just I think an extra level of consistency for Flying Angels has seen them over the finish line.
Excellent effort by Forward. They strung together a couple sets of breaks, just not enough in the end. These conditions wreaking havoc with both sides, and FAB just able to do more with them, holding a bit more composure with their offense specifically. They will feature in the final. They will feature against one of these Czech split squad sides. That much we'll get to you soon as the women's semifinal goes. That coming up next, Troubles from Bratslav versus Box from Vienna. Don't you go anywhere. It's been a pleasure having you here on ULTI.TV. Thanks for joining us. I've been Stef Pazzo with Benjamin Reese. Thanks again, and we'll see you very, very soon.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world and beyond.
My mom and I made a cookbook. Traditional recipes passed down through the generations.
They cater very well to modern kitchens.
Our recipes come from all over Italy, primarily from Le Marche in Sicily, where my parents come from. 2 of the best culinary regions.
All the regions of Italy have their own signature food.
Buying this book will make you smarter and better looking.
Mannaggia Stefano, just promote the book.
Just search Mama's Italian Classics anywhere you can buy books online and get your hands on a copy.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV